Summary of the poem Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas is a powerful villanelle, a 19-line poetic form consisting of 5 tercets followed by a quatrain. In this poem, Thomas addresses the inevitability of death and urges people, particularly his father, to resist it with all their might. The poem begins with a call to action. Thomas implores his readers not to go gently into the good night, a metaphor for death. Instead, he encourages them to burn and rave at the end of their lives, to fight against the fading of the light, which symbolizes life itself. In the subsequent stanzas, Thomas presents different types of men and their reactions to approaching death. Wise men, despite knowing that death is a natural part of life, do not accept it passively because their knowledge has not made the impact they desired. Forked no lightning. Good men lament that their deeds, though worthy, have not achieved the lasting impact they had hoped for, hence they rage against their end. Wild men, who have lived life to its fullest by singing the sun in flight, realize too late the transience of their existence and thus regret their impending death. Grave men, who are near death, gain a new clarity or vision, see with blinding sight, and understand that even in their weakened state, they have the potential to burn brightly and resist the end. The final stanza shifts to a personal appeal, where Thomas addresses his father directly. Standing on the brink of death, Thomas's father is asked to show both anger and defiance, to express his feelings strongly, curse, bless, me now with your fierce tears. Thomas's plea is both an expression of his love and an urgent request for his father to fight against the darkness of death. Overall, the poem is a passionate and emotional appeal to resist death with strength and vigor. It emphasizes the importance of living fully and confronting the end of life with resilience and intensity. Through vivid imagery and repetitive structure, Thomas conveys a universal message about the human spirit's struggle against the inevitability of death.
Line-by-line explanation of the poem Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas.
Line 1. Do not go gentle into that good night. The opening line of Dylan Thomas's poem presents a powerful plea against the passive acceptance of death. By urging the reader to not go gentle, Thomas advocates for an active resistance to the end of life. The term good night serves as a metaphor for death, suggesting that while it might seem peaceful or serene, it is not to be embraced passively. The speaker's tone is one of urgency and defiance, setting the stage for the rest of the poem, which will explore different responses to death. Line 2. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. In this line, Thomas extends his plea specifically to the elderly, suggesting that they should resist the end of life with passion and intensity. The imagery of burning and raving conveys a sense of vigorous defiance. The phrase close of day reinforces the metaphor of death as the end of the day, implying that even in their final moments, the elderly should exhibit fierce resistance rather than quiet resignation. Line 3. Rage against the dying of the light. The repetition of the word rage in this line intensifies the call for resistance against death. The dying of the light symbolizes the end of life, and the speaker emphasizes that one should fight against this inevitable end with relentless energy. This refrain serves as a powerful reminder to confront the approach of death with all possible strength and vitality. Line 4. The wise men at their end know dark is right. In this stanza, Thomas acknowledges that wise men, despite their understanding that death is a natural and inevitable part of life, dark is right, still resist its arrival. Their wisdom has led them to accept the inevitability of death, yet they struggle against it because they feel their contributions and words have not made a significant impact. Line 5. Because their words had forked no lightning they. The wise men regret that their words have not had the dramatic, transformative impact they had hoped for. The metaphor of words forking no lightning suggests that their insights or teachings did not spark the profound change or recognition they desired. This regret fuels their resistance to death, as they feel their life's work remains incomplete. Line 6. Do not go gentle into that good night. The repetition of this line reinforces the central theme of the poem, the call to resist death vigorously. By repeating this plea, Thomas emphasizes its importance and underscores the universal nature of the struggle against the end of life. Line 7, Good Men, the last wave by, crying how bright. Here, Thomas shifts his focus to good men who, as they approach death, lament the missed opportunities and the potential brilliance of their deeds. The image of the last wave by symbolizes the final moments of life, and their cry of lament reflects their sorrow over the perceived shortcomings of their life's work. Line 8, Their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. The good men regret that their frail deeds, their good actions and accomplishments, might not have achieved the vibrant, enduring impact they had hoped for. The green bay represents life and vitality, suggesting that their deeds could have thrived and danced within it, had they been more significant or impactful. Line 9, Rage against the dying of the light. The repetition of this line serves to reinforce the message of defiance against death. It reiterates the speaker's urging for all to resist the end of life with fierce determination. Line 10, Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight. In this line, Thomas describes wild men who have lived life with exuberance and passion, symbolized by their act of catching and singing the sun in flight. Their adventurous and vibrant lifestyle contrasts with the more reflective tone of the previous stanzas, highlighting the diversity of human responses to the approach of death. Line 11, And learn, too late, they grieved it on its way. These wild men come to a realization too late that their intense engagement with life was fleeting. They grieve the passing of time and their inability to fully appreciate or understand its transience while they were still alive. This regret drives their resistance to death, as they confront the limitations of their once energetic lives. Line 12, Do not go gentle into that good night. The repetition here once again emphasizes the core message of the poem. It serves as a poignant reminder to resist the end of life with strength and tenacity. Line 13, Grave men, near death, who see with blinding sight. In this stanza, Thomas refers to grave men, or those who are serious and near death, who gain a profound clarity or insight as they approach the end of their lives. The phrase blinding sight suggests that this realization is both overwhelming and enlightening. Line 14, Blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Even though these men are physically weakened and nearing death, they realize that their blind eyes could still shine brightly with intensity, akin to meteors. This imagery highlights the potential for continued vibrancy and defiance, even in the face of death. Line 15, Rage against the dying of the light. The repetition of this line continues to emphasize the call for resistance against the end of life, reinforcing the poem's central theme of fighting against the inevitability of death. Line 16. And you, my father, there on the sad height. In the final stanza, Thomas addresses his father directly, standing on the sad height of death. This personal appeal brings an emotional intensity to the poem, as Thomas's plea becomes both a personal and universal request for resistance. Line 17, Curse, bless, me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Thomas asks his father to respond with strong, emotional reactions, both a curse and a blessing. This duality of emotion reflects the complexity of their relationship and the intensity of the father's struggle against death. Line 18, Do not go gentle into that good night. The repetition of this plea in the final line underscores the emotional urgency and finality of the poem. It serves as a powerful conclusion, reiterating the call to confront death with relentless determination. Line 19, Rage against the dying of the light. The poem concludes with a final, emphatic repetition of the call to rage against the dying of the light. This closing line reinforces the central theme and the emotional intensity of Thomas's plea, leaving a lasting impression of the struggle against the inevitability of death.
About the poet. Dylan Thomas was born on October 27, 1914, in Swansea, Wales. He was a renowned Welsh poet and writer celebrated for his vivid and lyrical style. Thomas's early works, including his first collection 18 Poems, 1934, garnered significant acclaim for their innovative use of language and form. His distinctive voice and themes of nature, death, and the human experience marked him as one of the most influential poets of the 20th century. Thomas is also known for his radio plays, such as Under Milkwood, which showcase his talent for blending poetic language with dramatic narrative. Despite his critical success, Thomas struggled with personal and financial difficulties throughout his life. He died on November 9, 1953, in New York City, leaving behind a lasting legacy of evocative and powerful poetry that continues to resonate with readers today.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.